Hi everybody, welcome to So Charming Quilts Quilt Along for December. We're doing this pattern From Dusk Till Dawn. It's a Robert Kaufman Kona Cotton free pattern off our website at www.socharmingquilts.com, and it takes 2 jelly rolls. I have already separated my jelly rolls and I'm going to show you what I did with them. And I will also show you video of the process because there's a little bit of prep that gets involved in it, including pressing your strips and cutting of the pieces, at least a portion of the pieces. You don't want to do all the cutting all at once. But this is our pattern, and I hope you've already gone and gotten it, and we're going to get ready to go. I wanted to show you that I adapted this pattern. It's not an adaptation, technically speaking, but basically what I did was because these lines were kind of small, it can get very confusing on how to do the cutting parts of it. So I outlined the actual strips where they start and end in a kind of a magenta pen. I will be putting this in the description for you to go and get the link of how I did this part on our website. So you'll be getting that very soon, very soon. The other thing that I did, and I do this with all of my Robert Kaufman patterns just because it works out so well, and I actually had to pull some of my bolts out to double check because some of these colors are really close together, and sometimes the printouts don't really give you a good definition of the color, but when you look at these colors of these selvage strips, you know, right next to each other, you can slightly tell the different variation of them. So what I did was, when I cut, the first thing they tell you is to separate one strip of each color out of a jelly roll and cut the selvages off. And then you're going to stack 3 deep, and then you're going to cut them in the smallest pieces. But what I always do is I take the small selvage piece and I use it like a little mini swatch, and I make sure that I have all the colors for the right letters that go for the letters all lined up. And believe it or not, I'm going to show you in just a few minutes, but if you go through the process of the video, but this came in very handy when I was trying to make sure the 2 jelly roll that I got all the colors that match, all the strips that match, color match, all together in one place so that I could organize them, so it'll be way easier to just go through this process. So I hope you enjoy the journey. We'll get these videos up as quickly as possible. There's no rush. This is definitely a do it at your own pace and enjoy the quilting journey. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, share with your quilty friends, and thank you for joining us for this December quilt along from dusk until dawn. I'm just going to do a quick spritz of Mary Ellen's Best Press, and I believe my iron is hot now. I'm just going to do a really quick press. I'll start at the end with the selvage edge, and I'm just going to go forward. So I'm just going to do a quick press. You notice I'm not rolling it back and forth. I'm just setting it down. This one was a little wonky. It got a little kind of a fold in it, wrinkled. So this is just also, it's going to be drying the Best Press. Oh, and by the way, if you're using Best Press, use a dry iron because it'll go much faster. And I'm just giving it a quick little press. Nothing fancy schmancy. But the you can't tell the difference now because you're like not in the room with me, but The best press gives it a little bit more body. It's still malleable, but not quite so, not quite so floppy. It's a little bit more malleable, but it's also not crunchy stiff either. Okay, so these are my 6 of my colors, and get these prepped because these are going to be cut first. You're going to, these other 6. The 1 strips you're going to be cutting from, you're going to be cutting your small pieces from the roll, or from these strips, 1 of each. As you can see, they're not exactly the same size, and we're going to be cutting the selvage off. And I'll show you what I do with the selvages. If you've seen any of my other videos, I take the little piece of the selvage, and when I cut off the selvage, I use that. I staple it to my pattern so that I have a real world fabric connected to what printed out, and it's much easier to, oops, if I do this, it's much easier to, if you're looking at a fabric piece and you're like, I don't remember which color this is, it's a lot easier to see with a real piece connected to it. Hi everybody. Now that we've gotten the pressing out of the way, now we're ready to start our cutting. And one of the things that they tell you in the pattern is to cut off the selvages first and cut the small strip pieces that you're going to use in the cut the small strip pieces. I'm going to, one of the things that I always do is a lot of these colors are so very similar that what I'm going to do is when I cut off the selvages, I'm going to attach a piece of the fabric, of the selvage fabric, you know, right here, so that I know exactly what it is, which fabric is which, so I can separate the strips out for the right ones. And that way I'm not guessing. So, and it tells you in the pattern to cut the small pieces first, and then you're going to leave the rest because we're going to have long strips interrupted by the mix of the different small pieces in different colors. So you're going to leave those basically long pieces. So I'm going to also separate them in bags so that I do not get mixed up. So I'll have my color, so when I go to cut those as we go along, because that's what we're going to do, we're going to cut this as we go along. So it should be, you know, pretty self-explanatory as we go. But if you want to watch me cut the selvages off, you're more than welcome to watch, because that's what I'm doing, and hopefully you will be doing it too. Cut the selvages off. She says to stack them 3 deep. You can see I have it down here. You stack them three deep. I'm going to cut off my selvages. I have them, you know, aligned, and then where I'm going to cut off the selvages, and then we just start cutting, what does it say? 1.5. 1.5 by the 2.5. So then we're going to start cutting those strip pieces. So you're welcome to watch. And before I get to going to finishing the rest of the cutting, it's a good idea if you change your blade, make sure it's a fresh, sharp blade. And I'm going to attach my selvage pieces here that I just trimmed off to my paper, so I'm not guessing which strip is which, so I don't get confused with the colors, and I'll be right back with you. Hi everybody. Okay, so I have gotten all of my strip piece salvages stapled to my sheet that shows the colors. As you can tell, even with a printer, a good printer, it doesn't really give you really fantastic color definition differences. And these colors are just, some of them are so close, it's almost difficult to really tell which one is which. A couple of these I actually had to pull out my bolts of fabric so I could double check and make sure. Anyway, but of course you can lift it back and you can see the name of the color and the letter that it goes with. So that's what I did, and that's how I always do these particular patterns by Robert Kaufman, because it just is so simple and so easy to just keep a teeny swatch right there, always knowing which color you're dealing with, no problem. I'm going to, my battery's going to die in a little bit, so I'm going to have to recharge my iPad here, and then I'm going to start cutting the strips here for the small 1.5 by 2.5 inch pieces that are going to go in there, and that's the next thing we're going to do. So, you know, lots to do, and let's get to it. Once we do all the cutting and the separating, I'm going to put all of these strips that we're not cutting in a separate bag with the letter, so that when we go towards the, you know, the actual, you know, starting of the pattern, they give you the letter and how long it's supposed to be with our little strips in between. So I'm going to separate. I'm not going to cut everything. That's probably clue number one. Don't cut everything. You cut the small strips that go like right here, okay, in the patterns. You see them all over. You cut the strips, the one strip of each color, stacked up in threes on, like I've got on the table. And then I'm going to do that first, but then the others, they have specific sizes. So all I'm going to do is separate them by the number. I'm sorry, the number. I said the number. I meant the letter. Yeah. I'm going to separate all the colors in a bag by letter, so that I know when I'm pulling out the strip, I know I'm getting the correct one. So that's going to help keep everything very organized and very tidy. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what you should do. It'll help you. Believe me, it will help you keep everything straight. Okay, and I'll come back and show you how I did mine. So let's get doing on that, and then probably the next class we'll start the actual sewing together of the pieces. But I will say this, if you move ahead of me in the quilt along, please don't display your work until we're at that point, because that would be nice then, and otherwise I'm gonna feel like you're so far advanced of me that I don't know. Anyway, so let's do that part first. Let's get that separated and you know, get your little swatches on. Trust me, it's going to help you. Put your little selvage swatches on. Just staple them on, and I'll be back when we're getting ready to actually, with everything separated, so you can see how I did it, and then we're going to actually get to sewing. And I will be doing videos probably pretty frequently, so that you can keep moving along. If it takes you a couple of weeks to get to it, or you're doing a week in between of stuff, that's okay. The videos are there for you to watch whenever you need to. It's at your own pace. It's all good, okay? I just want you to enjoy the journey as much as I do. But this is a really phenomenal pattern, and so many people have been waiting to do this. So there you go. All right. So I'll see you at the next junction. So when I got to the end, when I got to the fold, you might be able to get another 1.5 inch out of some of these, but clearly not all of these strips were exactly the same length. So you might be able to get, I think there'll be plenty here to use, but just in case, if you need some of these colors, you can. If you need some of these, not so easy. Anyway, so I'm just going to keep the bigger ones as scraps. The smaller ones are not really usable, unless you do crumb quilting or something like that. So we're done with our small pieces. Next step is assemblage after I organize all my strips into bags. The other strips, the other ones. This is going to go in its own bag, but the other ones. We organize the other ones and then we're ready to go. See you later. Hi, this is Kathleen Realms with So Charming Quilts, and I'm back right at this moment to show you how I've organized my strips. There are 12 colors in with many duplicates in the jelly rolls, and we needed 2 jelly rolls. I have cut the smallest ones according to the pattern directions, and to organize them and keep them straight, I have little bags. You could use quart size, Ziploc bags, whatever works for you. But all I did was take a little painter's tape and I put the number of the color and then the pattern that I'm doing on it. And then for the very small strips, what I did was the size of the strip and plus the pattern, so that if I have to set this aside, I mean, nobody wants a UFO, but if I had to set this down and have to come back to it weeks later or even months later, I'll know what pattern it was, I'll know what the cuttings are, and there'll be less guesswork. So I have and I'm going to show you how I do my strips. Because this is done in such a way that you don't want to cut all your strip pieces to go around like it's going to show us, since you don't want to cut those strip pieces all at once, you really want to do it a little bit at a time, like they show you, with the exception of those smaller rectangles. I'm going to show you how I organize my strips so that when I pull out a strip, it's going to be quick, easy. One strip gets pulled out and everything is prepared for the rest of the quilt. It'll be quick, it'll be easy, and let me show you how I do it. This is strip color A according to the pattern. So, and I have strip set B, strip set C according to the pattern. So all I do is take the strip, I fold it in half and then fold it in half again, and I'm going to stack it up so that when I have it in the bag, I can just pull out one strip easy at a time, and I'm not pressing any real creases in there. And you may get 5 to 7 strips per color, depending on how many repeats are in the pattern. So here I have my little strip set pieces. So, and I'm going to put them in the bag so that these folds, these like partial folds, are at the top. So when I reach in the bag, I'm only going to grab a strip and pull it out. There, I've got one for use. Don't need anything else. They're still in good shape. There you go. So it'll be easy as we go along to each strip. Oh, I need strip A, X size. It'll be very quick and very easy. And I just stick it in the bag. Push out any air, and then it's ready to go. I have done others here with the letters and the colors that correspond with them. So when I need those letter strips, I just go to them, and I keep them in a little project box here. So when I'm ready to go, and I didn't cut off any of the selvage of the extra strips because I'm going to do that right before I cut the links that are needed for the pattern. But that's how I organize my strips, and honestly, it makes it so much smoother and it goes so much quicker, and so there's less complication. I'm just going to finish my other 2 strip sets here that I have, and then we will be ready to start our project in full. The sewing part, the fun part. Just going to go ahead and roll these up also. So this is what I do to keep myself organized. You're going to find your own means and methods that will work for you, but this works for me. And if it works for you too, great. And if you have another way of doing it, great. We'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Great. Join us for the next quilt along session where we start the actual cutting, sewing, and getting this beautiful, beautiful quilt on the design wall going, going, going.